Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going over a company that's been on my radar for quite a while, but as of date I've never been able to convince myself to actually buy some of it. And as you can see, that company in question is Lululemon. And because saying it once took 4 to 5 tries, I'll be referring to it as Lulu from here on out, which is pretty fitting for it anyway because that's the ticker symbol. I've had Lulu saved to my watch list for about a month now. And normally when I save things to my watch list, it just means I'm going to be more proactively monitoring it. This not only gives me more time to look into the companies I'm researching, but it also prevents me from doing any impulse buys. So as I'm sure everyone's aware, Lulu is an athletic apparel company, similar to that of Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour, without the emphasis of shoes. Even though they do have shoes, it makes up less of the company. And unlike a lot of recent online retailers, Lulu has focused on a large storefront. With 523 stores in 17 countries, they have quite the reach. A lot of this has contributed to Lulu's rapid growth over the last decade, and grow they most definitely have. Lulu has been quite the stock over the last few years, with its current share price hovering around the mid-300s. At its current valuation, that puts Lulu up 33% over the past year, and over 223% gains over the last 5 years. That's quite the run-up even for a tech company, let alone one focusing on apparel, which is notorious for being a highly competitive, low-profit business. Well, unless you're Nike. And it's critical to put market valuation in the forefront of comparing stocks. The share price in the end does not really matter. It is merely a small fragment of the company's larger valuation. It can give you a better idea of how a company is currently positioned in their industry. But we're going to come back and take another look at that aspect later in the video. The last thing I'll say here is that currently Lulu has a PE ratio of 30. Compared to the S&P 500's PE ratio, this is quite the premium. That being said, because of their growth rates, this isn't all too surprising. With the broader overview out of the way, let's get a little bit more into the numbers. In a fast-growing company, most investors keep an eye on the revenue. When companies expand, they generally have a lot of capital expenditures, and therefore their profits may be low while this is happening. The idea is that once they become mature, they can switch to profitability instead of growth. And as you can see, Lulu has definitely been growing its revenue, doubling it in size in just 4 years. As you can see in the year-over-year revenue growth rate, 20 to 30% growth rates is nothing uncommon for Lulu, with the exception of 2021 as a result of a lot of its stores being closed, and because of lockdowns people just needed less apparel in general. But with an aggressive recovery of 42% the following year, even the pandemic hasn't been able to stifle Lulu's growth. The net income of the company has been fluctuating a little bit more, but with the recent market conditions over the last few years, that's not really surprising. Many companies have seen a lot of unexpected costs, whether that be in material or labor. And Lulu's cash growth has been pretty consistent as well. And this has been seen throughout most of the market. Most companies experienced extreme highs and lows over the last 3 years, so they've looked pretty inconsistent. But as the years go on, obviously this will correct to the mean. So most of the financial characteristics of Lulu are pretty spot on. When the company's growing like this, it's hard to find any real issues. One of the typical downsides to fast-growing companies is usually share dilution. But as you can see here, there has been really no share dilution, at least not for over a decade now. On the free cash flow bar graph there, you can also see in that very tiny blue columns is the shareholder dilution. Because it's an apparel company, the only ones who really get paid in shares are basically the CEOs. And while over the years Lulu has focused on growth instead of share buybacks, they still have decreased their overall share count over the years. And as a shareholder, these are the kind of behaviors you want to see. Even with the growth of Lulu, they have still consistently bought back their own shares, increasing the value per share of all remaining shareholders. These kind of actions usually deserve some kind of a premium compared to most companies. And to get the broadest idea of how Lulu is doing compared to some of its peers, here you have a simple breakdown of some of the major companies in the athletic apparel space. And this is why market valuation matters so much more than share price. You can't compare companies' share prices against each other. You can compare their growth rates over the years, but you can't compare the share price of today against any other company really. But you can compare their valuations. And as you can see, Lulu is one of the front runners in this race. It's definitely a far stretch from Nike still, but compared to some of the ones that people consider big in athletic wear like Adidas and Under Armour, Lulu is actually one of the big dogs in this race. Before looking more into it, I definitely wouldn't imagine Lulu is twice the size of Adidas. But with this little comparison, it often raises the question of where is the ceiling for Lulu's growth. Does it have the potential to get up to a valuation similar to Nike? Or is it already hitting peak market saturation? And that takes me into my opinion piece on Lulu. One of the reasons I've never been able to pull the trigger on this company is that I don't know a lot about the industry. Yes, I know the majority of it is women's athletic apparel, but that doesn't tell me how it's doing in its industry overall. I don't wear any of Lulu's clothes. And honestly, until looking into the stock, I didn't even know they had a men's line. Let me know if there's any Giga Chads out there wearing Lululemon. But the point I'm trying to make is that if Lulu passes peak popularity, it could be a long time before I even notice. And that's why you really need to know what you're buying when you're buying stocks. It's just not magical money that goes up automatically. If everybody moved on from Lulu tomorrow, eventually the share price will follow. And being that I could be very oblivious to that whole situation, it's kept me from actually buying this company. Even comparing it to Nike, I don't know if this is the type of company that will have its time in the sun before setting, or does it have the brand value like Nike where it can defend itself from competition? I don't have the slightest idea. Does everybody who already wants Lulu already have it? Or does Lulu keep broadening its portfolio? Not only keeping existing customers, but also reaching out to new ones. A lot of my portfolio is focused on tech over the years because that's the industry I know the most about. And unfortunately, as a single human being, you can only look into so many industries at a time. You can only keep track and monitor so many different areas. But overall, I really do think this is a fantastic company. But I also know I would be probably one of the last people holding the bag if anything changed in the industry. And I find it highly unlikely that I will ever really look into the fashion industry all that much. Or at the very least, not consistently. But to anyone who has been holding Lulu for quite some time now, they have probably had quite the amount of gains. And it does create a bit of FOMO in every investor's heart to see such a thing. But sometimes if you don't know too much about it, you just have to sit out on it. Because if I bought Lulu, it'd be more of a gamble. Compared to someone who knows more about the fashion industry's trends, maybe they have high confidence that Lulu will double over the next 2 years. Or maybe they do believe Lulu will be similar to Nike and have that long staying power. But without a doubt, it's not something that I can say with high confidence. Or any confidence, actually. So to all my fellow investors out there, please let me know, do you hold Lulu? Have you been investing in this company or are you new to it? If there's any female investors watching this video, do you have a bigger insight on this industry? Is Lulu the next Nike or is it hitting its peak? Please let me know all your thoughts and ideas and analysis in the comments below. And as always, if you like the content we make, please like, subscribe, and keep watching Interesting Investments.